that means that for some reason, suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these two cells who had half the DNA, but suddenly there's a
Correct, yes, something magical happens at that point.
It's not magical, Charlie, we know about this.
Well, hold on.
Charlie.
Time out.
Simply about the fact that if you feel like that's what you need to do with your body, then that's what you do. Because I could also...
Well, hold on a second. If it's not your DNA, how is it your body?
It is your DNA.
No, it's not.
It's a part of you. It's
No.
growing in you. It's connected to you by an umbilical cord. It is a part of you.
1 second. It's attached.
A part.
It's attached, not a part. Part, by definition, means it remains permanent.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So an attachment is something that is temporary. And so you are not your mom's DNA. You're not your dad's DNA. You are new deoxyribonucleic acid.
All right, so thank you for coming, Charlie. My question to you, I'm a medical student, and so I'm going to throw out the big A word. I know you get asked about it a lot, but I want to hear from you what your opinion is on abortion.
Life begins at conception.
But about abortion specifically. Why do you think abortion's wrong specifically?
Well, you agree murder is wrong?
I agree. Okay, so this is where we get to the question, right? Because what is it about murder you say is wrong? Like, why is murder wrong?
Well, because it's a human being, not just because it has consciousness or because it's of a certain age, because it's a human.
Well, what is it that gives human being this moral worth?
Not its consciousness necessarily.
I didn't say it's consciousness.
I know that I can imagine it because it is a human being, because that has a soul.
And what is this soul? Where does this come from? This idea that it's...
Exactly. Again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can laugh. It's true. Every civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West and what the birth certificate of my country articulates, is that every human being is more than just matter, it's more than just a clump of cells, but it also has an invisible element to you that will live beyond you.
Fine, so, can you say that comes from the Bible, or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West. And again, the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. The founders were explicitly believed, not in a secular morality, but a divinely given one, of at least this idea that there is a God and you are not him. And let me ask you, what is the first stage of human development?
So this is the thing, right? We can take it from the sperm being generated in the father and the oocyte being generated in the mother, right? They fuse at conception, sorry. The only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse.
Right? No, DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
No, that's not true. The DNA
Charlie.
DNA coding at the zygote. Hold on, time out.
I'll let you finish.
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Charlie, DNA...
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
You have to let me speak. You have to...
Answer it, yes or no. Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Define a unique marker.
Meaning, can you differentiate the DNA coding between the mother and the zygote if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis? Can you?
Only purely because the addition comes from the father.
Oh, so it is something different.
Charlie, DNA is not created. DNA is not created. You have, the father has his own genome, the mother has her own genome. They fuse. This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these two cells joining, right? But these two cells were created, the mother's cells were created long before, they were created when she was a fetus. So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So we can't establish, the only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse. Now this idea that means that for some reason, suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these two cells who had half the DNA, but suddenly there's a
Correct, yes, something magical happens at that point.
It's not magical, Charlie, we know about this.
When people like Charlie Kirk say life begins at conception, they ignore basic biology. Conception isn't the creation of life, it's the merging of two already living cells. Sperm and egg each carry DNA long before they meet. At fertilization, those DNA strands just recombine. That's not new life in a moral sense, it's cell division, the same natural process that happens in countless organisms that never become human beings. And when he brings up the idea of a soul, that's not science, it's theology. The Bible itself doesn't even support his claim. In Genesis 2:7, life begins when Adam breathes. Breath, not conception, is the biblical marker of life. Historically, even major Christian thinkers like Augustine and Aquinas believed ensoulment came weeks after conception, not at the moment sperm meets egg. The Catholic Church only shifted to conception in the 19th century, showing this belief is cultural, not eternal truth. So when Charlie falls back on magic to explain why a zygote should suddenly be treated as morally equal to a fully conscious person, that's not evidence. It's avoidance. The science and even the history of his own religion undermine his claim.
Well, hold on.
Charlie.
Time out. Hold on.
Charlie, I promise you, I'm not trying to score points. I'm not trying to score points on you. This is genuine.
We call it the miracle of life for a reason. We've not been able to yet replicate human life development outside of the womb.
We call it the miracle of life because, yes, it's something beautiful, the ability to
exactly.
form a new...
Magical.
It's not... You say magical as in, oh, it's beautiful, it's an incredible thing that happens, of course. But it's not incredible in the sense we don't know what's going on. There's no new DNA coming out of nowhere.
Hold on, but time out. Isn't there a separate DNA, though, than the mother?
Yes, from the father.
Okay, yes, but it's not the father's DNA either. A new coding is created.
Charlie,
you are a blend of the two. And so when did your life begin?
Okay, so
when did your life begin?
I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now, you say about this mother thing. So the way DNA is arranged in a cell is it's arranged in chromosomes. Chromosomes are paired up, so you have one from the mother, one from the father, typically, in a healthy individual, right? Now, you can take those maternal chromosomes out and you can find that this is who the person's mother is, and you can do the same with the father. Now, the reason you are different to your mother and father is because some of those chromosomes express genes that are different from each other, and so those genes interact, and that's what gives rise to you, right? But there's no space for any kind of moral framework to come into that until you consider that a human being is capable of consciousness and of suffering. But if you take that out of the equation, the fact that these two DNA, whatever they call molecules, right? These two DNA molecules are fusing, that does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to score points. I'm trying to understand.
By what moral standard do you believe that?
I believe that if an individual is capable of suffering, then it's wrong. Now, can I explain my opinion on abortion, just so you can understand? I would agree, as many reasonable people would, that at 9 months, it's unreasonable to expect someone to get an abortion, right? Unless you have some extreme circumstances. But for an elective abortion seems a bit radical to me. But it also seems radical to say that a woman who has just, the cells have just fused, to deny her of an abortion also seems wrong to me. Because that zygote is not capable of suffering, as far as we know.
So by what moral standard? Is that just your opinion? Where did you get that moral standard from?
Because suffering is a bad thing. We all know suffering is a bad thing. That's an objective fact, right?
Well, hold on. So you do believe in objective morality?
I believe that suffering is an objectively negative
So if you can't feel it, is it okay?
What do you mean if you can't?
You can't feel the pain, is it okay to inflict the pain?
In the sense that if no one's suffering from it, if you have a scenario where nobody is suffering from something, then yes, of course. Something is only a moral question if it affects someone's well-being.
So let me just make sure I understand this correctly. That if it doesn't affect their well-being, so dementia patients that don't know who they are or where they're from, can we execute dementia patients because they're confused about their well-being?
Can you imagine a scenario?
Or Alzheimer's patients.
Charlie,
Alzheimer's patients don't really know much about anything. Can we schedule them for execution because they can't technically suffer?
I'll respond. So can you imagine a scenario where we lived in a society where we killed people when they suffered from dementia, were incapable of suffering, and we killed them, right? It's not a scenario that involves an absence of suffering. There's still suffering involved. Imagine you grow up thinking, my dad could be killed at any moment because he's going to get dementia. Imagine living your life thinking, I could get dementia and suddenly I'd be killed by my state.
Imagine a world where you slaughter 1 million babies every year in America.
Charlie, it's not slaughter, that's the problem.
Hold on, if it's a forcible removal from the umbilical cord of another human life, again, we have clarity but not agreement. Biologically, you know that your entire coding began at conception. Your coding, your uniqueness.
That's what I'm denying. I disagree with that.
Okay, when those two cells fused together, to use your terminology,
yes,
that is where the process of human...
scientifically accepted terminology.
In the interest of time, can we bring this question to a close?
The process of human development objectively begins at that moment. Therefore, those human beings are deserving of human.
What makes Charlie's position fall apart is that he keeps treating DNA as if it's some magic stamp of personhood. But DNA doesn't create moral value. Every living cell, from skin cells to bacteria, has DNA. Having a genetic code doesn't make something a conscious being with rights. What matters is the capacity to experience, to suffer, to have awareness. That's why modern ethics, medicine, and even secular law draw the line not at conception, but at viability, brain activity, or the capacity for sentience. The student is right. Suffering is the real moral standard. That's not opinion. It's grounded in philosophy and supported by science. The philosopher Jeremy Bentham put it simply back in the 18th century. The question is not, can they reason? Nor, can they talk? But, can they suffer? That idea shaped human rights, animal welfare, and modern bioethics. Charlie tries to derail this with dementia patients, but that misses the point. Dementia patients can still feel pain, fear, and joy. They can still suffer. They're also embedded in families and communities, so killing them would cause enormous suffering for others. That's exactly why the student's argument holds up. Morality is about reducing harm and suffering, not about clinging to a mystical idea of souls or coding. And calling abortion slaughter is emotional manipulation. The reality is that most abortions occur in the first trimester, when the embryo has no brain activity and no capacity for pain. That's not slaughter, that's medicine. The numbers show it clearly. In the United States, about 93% of abortions happen before 13 weeks, long before the nervous system is developed enough for suffering.
Rights. We keep going, or do you want to?
No, thank you. That's.
Can I finish?
Yeah, you can finish.
The process of development begins from the moment the sperm is being generated in the father, the moment the eggs are being generated in the mother. To say that suddenly the moral worth switches on when they fuse doesn't make any sense. That's just a point you've taken.
It makes perfect sense, because that is when your journey as a human being, when the sperm and egg were separate, you were not yet a fused human being. You were not created uniquely.
DNA existed.
Any image.
Your DNA existed. I thought.
Well, no, the parts of your DNA.
So the reason why I believe the right to an abortion, why just anyone, if you feel that's what you need to do, then you should do it. Because Matthew 7:1 says, do not judge or you too will be judged. Although Jesus does tell us to tell people, do not sin, it's not our place to judge them, you know? And then another thing that I wanted to bring up, this is crazy, but also the time, I just really want to know why you feel that abortion should be illegal.
Do you think murder should be illegal?
Murder is illegal.
So you think it should be? Do you think it should be illegal?
I just feel like there's a big difference between a living, breathing human and then a fetus that is inside of another human's body.
Fair enough. What is the difference?
The difference is a fetus is inside of the body. You know what I'm saying? Like a fetus, it can't live on its own.
Got it. So let's go through a couple questions there.
Okay.
Why does somebody's location determine their moral worth?
It doesn't, but it's simply about the fact that if you feel like that's what you need to do with your body, then that's what you do. Because I could also
Well, hold on a second. If it's not your DNA, how is it your body?
It is your DNA.
No, it's not.
It's a part of you. It's
no.
growing in you. It's
Hold on a
connected to
second.
you by an umbilical cord. It is a part of you.
1 second. It's attached.
A part.
It's attached. Hold on a second. It's attached, not a part.
Same
because
thing.
No, it's actually not. A part, by definition, means it remains permanent.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So an attachment is something that is temporary. And so it's not, you are not your mom's DNA, you're not your dad's DNA, you are new deoxyribonucleic acid. So shouldn't we say that if it's not your DNA, it's not your choice?
I mean, you could say that, but I mean, really, I just don't understand how you can use religion to back up your point of...
I haven't used it once. She brought up religion. I'm happy to use a non-religious line of questioning. We all agree murder is wrong.
Okay.
We all agree that it's a human Homo sapien.
Do you agree that the death penalty is wrong?
Well, no, I'm actually in support of the death penalty because
Okay.
people do
Okay.
something that justifies that, but that's a separate issue because the baby in utero did not go...
So what about the people who could possibly be proved innocent who have been awaiting their death sentence?
Fair enough. That's a good argument, but it's separate, right? So there's been about 31 exonerations of posthumous people that have been exonerated of the death penalty. We're talking about a baby that did nothing wrong except exist.
Okay.
in utero. And there's about 1.5 million of them that just get discarded every year. So we agree murder is wrong. We agree it's a Homo sapien, meaning it's a human being. Therefore, murder is the forcible termination of a Homo sapien. Therefore, shouldn't abortion be wrong and illegal?
I still feel like it really, like, okay, for example.
But to prove to me
something
why,
you said-
you use an ABC logical equation, right? So tell me under what standard, therefore, very simple, right? You're in college, you guys do this all the time, right? I hope so. So use an ABC, right? Aristotelian logic, whatever you want to use. Use an ABC sequence for me. Not
My
I feel.
reasoning why I believe that abortion should be legal is because of instances like rape and incest, but I already know that your belief on that because you've already stated that if your daughter were to be raped at 10 years old, you would make her give
Well,
birth to
the baby would be delivered, and let me tell you why. And so, but first of all,
Okay.
let me try to find common ground.
Okay.
If I say we will make rape and incest abortions legal and get rid of all the other abortions, would you agree with that?
Can you repeat that? I'm so sorry.
If I say that we will allow abortions to continue for rape and incest life of the mother, but all other abortions should be illegal, which is 99.4% of the time, can we make those 99% of abortions illegal?
Yeah, see, I don't believe that abortion should be used as a form of birth control.
So 99% of the time it is. That's all that we're debating in the country right now. So Charlie Kirk's position is a very fringe minority. People are talking about still exceptions, so we should get rid of 99% of abortions.
Yes, but at the same time,
So you're actually not that pro-choice, actually.
I am because I feel like there's no way to kind of divide the basis of like what abortion is being used as birth control and what abortion
Oh,
is
it's
being
totally
used.
easy, actually. I mean, so you could tell through a DNA test if it's an incest baby. You could tell if it's rape because they have to file a police report. And you could tell life of the mother based on an OBGYN analysis. So that's,
Okay, so
it's
then
a
if
very,
it's that easy, then why have we not done that?
Oh, because the American people don't support it. Because abortion is popularly supported as a form of birth control. That's why. So your position is actually a very rational one, and I respect you for it. 99% of all abortions are done just because people want the baby gone. 99%. That's not Charlie Kirk's numbers. That's the Guttmacher Institute, which was funded by Planned Parenthood.
Okay. So do you like feel as though like people who are victims of rape and incest, do you think that they should be able to get an abortion?
Charlie keeps trying to frame this as simple math. Human DNA equals human rights. Abortion equals murder. But reality is much more complicated. Having human DNA doesn't make something a person. Every discarded skin cell has human DNA, but we don't treat skin cells like they're entitled to rights. Personhood isn't about DNA. It's about consciousness, viability, and the ability to experience the world. That's why medicine, law, and ethics all distinguish between a fetus that cannot survive outside the womb and a living, breathing human being. Even religion doesn't give him the certainty he claims. The Bible never says life begins at conception. In fact, Exodus 21 describes a miscarriage differently from the killing of an adult, showing the ancients did not see them as equal. And Matthew 7:1, the verse the student quoted, cuts directly against Charlie's entire approach. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. If Christianity itself tells people not to sit in judgment over others' choices, how can it be used to justify controlling women's bodies? On top of that, Charlie pushes a false statistic when he says 99% of abortions are just birth control. The Guttmacher Institute's research shows the reality is more complex. The majority of people who get abortions cite multiple reasons: financial insecurity, inability to care for another child, abusive relationships, health concerns, or disruption to education or work. To reduce all of that to birth control is dishonest. And let's not forget, abortion is overwhelmingly supported by the public. Poll after poll shows that a majority of Americans believe abortion should remain legal in most cases. Charlie's position is the fringe one, not the student's. What this whole exchange shows is that when confronted with science, history, and even religious texts, Charlie dodges, simplifies, or shifts the goalposts. The students, on the other hand, ground their reasoning in facts, ethics, and lived reality. So here's the question: should our laws be built on dogma or on evidence and compassion for real people's lives? If you found this breakdown helpful, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive.